Hello and welcome to another episode of the Field of 68's off-season grades. My name is Rob Doster. Jeff Goodman is here with me, and today we are going to be breaking down the Iowa State Cyclones, who had a bit of turnover on their roster this year, but as things currently stand, have probably as much returning talent as anybody in the Big 12 does. Gone is Keyshawn Gilbert and gone are Curtis Jones. And those are two big losses because of the roles that they filled and the job that they did for Iowa State this past season. But TJ Altenberger gets back Tamin Lipsey, who is one of the best point guards in college basketball, who should this season hopefully be healthy, Goodman. He gets back Joshua Jefferson, who was one of the most underrated and underappreciated transfer additions that we saw in college basketball last year. Milan Momcilovic is back for what should be a really good junior season. Nate Hezzy is back, and they added in the portal Virginia's Blake Buchanan, Dominic Nelson, a big-time scorer from Utah Valley, Eric Mulder from Purdue Fort Wayne, and five freshmen actually that are coming in that should be able to play some level of impact off the bench. So, what do you make of Iowa State? What do you make of their roster? What do you make of what Otts has this season?
I mean, you kept three of your top players. So, like, to me, huge, right? I mean, you kept Lipsey, and now he'll be healthy. He was not healthy all year last season. I think it was a thumb and a shoulder. So he was never healthy last year. You kept Joshua Jefferson, who I think had a phenomenal year coming in from St. Mary's and showed the versatility that he's got at that forward spot. And Milan, we know, can shoot the shit out of it, and he'll take a step forward again this year. So you have, your key three guys back, and you don't have crazy NIL to be able to do it. So I think, what TJ's done with this program is nothing short of like incredible. And again, like, I know people might push back on me on this, but 4 years and they've been like nationally relevant every two Sweet 16s. They won the Big 12 tournament a couple years ago, finished second in the league. They're always in the equation right now, and that is not an easy job to be able to sustain it because they don't have the resources of some of the other teams in the Big 12 or nationally. So he's established a culture there. They're going to be really good defensively again. We know that. And again, with Lipsey being 100% this year, you're going to see a different caliber player. Like, you're just going to see him take a step this year and be one of those, point guards that we talk about nationally. That's one of the elite guys at his position. He just wasn't that last year.
Yeah, they did a really, really good job with roster continuity. And I think that is something that is undervalued when we're talking about preseason projections and what teams could end up being, right? Like Lipsey and Josh Jefferson are both all Big 12 guys, and both of them are coming back. Momcilovic is as good of a like number three option that you're going to find anywhere in the Big 12. And all three of those guys are back, and all three of those guys are ready to make a bigger impact, having been in the program for Lipsey for 4 years, Momcilovic for 3 years. And I think, and we can just get straight into it right now, I think there is no question in my mind that the X factor for this group is going to end up being how they replace the two guys that they lost in Curtis Jones and Keyshawn Gilbert. And we talked about this a little bit on the Tennessee episode for people that listen to that, where Rick Barnes found a way to be able to go from being a good team to back-to-back Elite Eights because he embraced this idea that we can coach up defense, so I got to go find guys that can get buckets, right? And I can teach them to be good defenders. I don't have to just go get good defenders. If you look at what TJ did his first couple of seasons, year one, all they did was guard. They couldn't score at all. Year two, they were a little bit better offensively, but they still couldn't really score. Year three, they were the best defense in college basketball, and they were still outside the top 50 in offensive efficiency. This past season was their most well-rounded the most well-rounded team that they had, and they probably would have been a little bit better on the defensive end had Lipsey not been hurt. but you lose Gilbert who and Jones, who combined averaged 31 points and 6.5 assists, right? That's a lot of points for a team that didn't have a ton of scores coming back. To me, the X factor is filling that, and to me, the X factor um, specifically is going to be Dominic Nelson, the transfer coming in from Utah Valley. 15 points a game there and a good program. Can't really shoot it, but he's a big scoring guard, and that's exactly what Gilbert and Jones were. That is the hole that they have to fill this year, and that is the biggest question I have. Who's going to get buckets? Where's that offense getting replaced from?
So I'm going to say the X factor is a freshman, Jamarian Bateman. All right, a top 75 recruit who's athletic, shoots the shit out of it. He's a guy that I think could be that guy. I think Nelson is solid, right? He's going to
Mhm.
help you just like the kid Heisey will help you coming off the bench. Heisey's just a glue guy. I think Bateman's got the upside. And the great thing is, you've got veterans around you, right? You've got veterans around you. You're not going to be behind the scouting report if you're Bateman. I think he's going to be a guy that just kind of, hey, early on in the season, he might be averaging 6, 8, 10. Then it gets to league play, and I think you're seeing a guy who's a consistent double figure scorer to go along with. I mean, Jefferson and Monsilovich are going to average what I would say 15, 17 a game, each of them. They're going to have to. Lipsy will probably be around 13, 14. I don't. He's not going to be a 16, 18 a game guy. That's just not who he is. So, and you need 10 a game out of Blake Buchanan. You absolutely need 10, a consistent 10 and 7 out of Buchanan. And I think Bateman is the X factor for me because his upside is huge. They do a great job of evaluating at Iowa State. They love this kid. And again, he can get to the basket and he really, really shoots it.
If you haven't heard by now, we have partnered with BetMGM for the season. We'll be using BetMGM lines to make all of our picks, and we'll have special offers for the listeners and the viewers. Download the BetMGM app and sign up using the bonus code FIELD. Deposit at least $10 and place your first wager on any game, and you'll receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets. Go download the BetMGM app and use the code FIELD today. Yeah, we're both kind of on the same page, right? The role that has to be filled is who can be that complementary scoring option. I don't know if Monchelovich is the guy that can get you 15 to 17 a game. I
He
think that
has to. He has to.
I think he's kind of is what he reminds me a little bit of, and tell me if you think this is crazy. He reminds me a little bit of Alex Caravan in the sense that he is elite when it comes to being like the third or fourth option. But as he moves up the scouting report, I'm not sure if he is
Okay.
necessarily a guy that you want having
If
more
he
touches
can't get you
offensively.
15, if he can't get you the 15 this year, you're in trouble. You're in
Yeah.
trouble. He's got to average. He and Jefferson have to average. They got to get between the two of them almost 35 a game to
I think
me.
Jefferson to me, like he averaged 13-7,
He's
more
great.
than 3 assists, more than 2 steals.
Yep.
I think Jefferson is the guy that will take a big step forward and be the guy that they run a lot of stuff
They're going to
through.
win games ugly again, Rob. They're going to win a lot of games ugly again in the 60s. They just are. You watch.
Yeah. All right, so let's talk about that. The amount of games that they're going to win. What are your I would have Houston as the number one team and Texas Tech as the number two team in the Big 12 rankings, which is uh, crazy, and I can't believe that those are the words that are actually coming out of my mouth. The Big 12, the league that has Kansas, the league that has Baylor, the league that has two teams that have won national championships since COVID, are not in the top two when it comes to when it comes to the Big 12. I think Iowa State's right there after those top two. I think that they are the best of the bunch after those top two. I could understand the argument for Kansas. Baylor probably has a little bit more ways to go. There's other teams in the league that are worth discussing, like a BYU, um, Arizona, obviously. But I think that Iowa State is right there with BYU and Arizona as like competing for that number three spot in the conference heading into the season, at least.
Agreed. Somewhere 3 to 5. I would say they finish at the end of the day in the Big 12. I don't know. You just keep getting back to it, and you're like, Lipsy's just such a winner, and he
Mhm.
gives you something at that point guard spot that like nobody else really has. I mean, Braden Smith's the best point guard in the country, right? We've talked about Mikael Brown at Louisville, what he's going to be. is there a more well-rounded point guard in the country in terms of two-way point guard who's a leader, a winner, an intangible guy than Lipsy? There aren't many. I mean, there might be a couple you'd take. But again, Lipsy's a winning basketball player who's an intangible guy who's a leader. And then you throw Jefferson and you throw Milan. You have three guys that you know what you're going to get for the most part every single night. So, yeah, I think they're going to be top 25 all year, top 3 to 5 in the league. They'll go to the tournament, they'll win a game or two. And I just don't think their ceiling is high enough to get to a Final Four.
That's exactly where I'm at with them too. And I would probably have them higher than just top 25. I think this is a like team
Top
that's in that
15. Yeah.
like 13
Yep.
to 20 range. Um, I think they're a team that is probably most likely going to be in that like 4 to 6 range in terms of what their seed are heading into the
Yep.
tournament. I think that this is a team that is going to be very difficult to upset in the first round of the tournament. I also don't know if this is a team that I would necessarily be sitting here picking to make it to the second weekend of the tournament. To me, it's without knowing where they replace those points from and looking at a roster that I would not say is loaded with elite defensive weapons and elite kind of physicality and toughness the way they were in those first couple of seasons. I don't know where their ceiling comes from. I think they are very high floor, and I think that they have a very limited ceiling when it comes to being able to make a run into the NCAA tournament. That's where I'm at with it. But you never know, man. Like, there's also a real chance that Taman Lipsey comes out here and it just proves himself to be exactly what you said, the best point guard in college basketball this side of Braden Smith. I don't think that'd be the most shocking result of the college basketball season either. So, give me a grade. Grade the offseason for the Iowa State Cyclones.
I mean, I'm going to give them a B plus just because they were able to retain those three guys when they didn't have the resources to be able to really retain them. They kept them at, you know, I don't want to say a bargain, but those guys all could have went out there and made more
Mm-hmm.
money and gone somewhere else. Buchanan was a solid addition, fits kind of what TJ does. You get this freshman in and Bateman, see what happens with him. It fits them, like the roster fits. It's the one thing with TJ. He's not going to compromise in terms of character. He's not going to take a big risk on a flyer. So these guys fit the system. They fit the culture, all that. I'll give them a B plus at Iowa State. I don't think you can give them less than that for what they did in terms of
No,
retention and adding some guys, given their limitations.
I gave him an A minus for those same reasons. Like I maybe I just overvalue uh, players coming back more than transfer additions, but I think if you're getting back two all league guys,
Yep.
three of your top five, and four players that have been with the program as culture guys,
Yep.
like four starters are going to be returners. I don't know how you can give them less than an A minus on that when you
You know
consider
what?
how much
You've
those guys.
convinced me. It's not often. It's not often that you actually make sense.
Yep,
But you just made some sense. So I'm going to change my pick from B plus to A minus
there you
because
go.
of Rob Doster's words of wisdom.
That is the first nice thing that Jeff Goodman has ever said about me. Listen, this has been Field of 68 offseason grades for the Iowa State Cyclones. Make sure you keep it here. Field of 68 YouTube channel, Field of 68 podcast feed will be rolling out about 40 of these over the course of August and September. So subscribe and make sure you don't miss any of them. For Jeff Goodman, my name is Rob Dawson. This has been the Field of 68 off season grades.